The Doctrine and Devotion Conference on Covenant Theology is going down on September 18th and 19th in Geneva, Illinois. We can't wait to see you there. We still have some seats left, but not a lot. So head on over to doctrineanddevotion.com/conference to get all the details and to register. And stay tuned. We'll give you some more information in a little bit. Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, and thanks for listening, and thanks for telling all your friends about it. We appreciate that. This is a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorn. I am the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
Man, oh man.
Man, oh man.
I have not seen you in a while. It feels like we need to hang out.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Yeah, I'll check my calendar.
Okay.
Well,
Why don't we hang out after this?
I am free.
You are not.
I am free.
You would hang out with me after this?
I will hang out with you after this.
For more than 5 minutes?
Yes.
Not because do you need a ride somewhere?
You know I got my whip out front.
Jimmy has a nice
You know
car.
I'm good.
You know how long it was for you, like, resisting the company getting you a car? How many years? Were
8.
You, like, vehemently, like, I will not get a fancy car.
Yep. And here it is.
I'm so happy you got it. It's such an awesome car.
Yeah, you could ride in it, though, if you want. Oh, you know what? I don't have it. I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I left it.
Yeah, that's okay.
I left it at
let's
home.
Move on.
No,
Let's move on.
I left my kid's booster seat
Yeah,
at home,
that's
so I
real
can't.
funny.
I can't.
Yeah, it's great.
Know.
That's a real original joke.
You know what?
Yeah.
It actually is really original because for those that don't know,
Right.
Joe Thorn right now is sitting on.
My butt.
No.
on my butt.
He's got a booster. You got a booster so that you could see better as we're recording.
Okay. Technically,
Did you or did you not say I cannot see as well? This table is too tall.
Yeah, the problem is not that I'm short. The problem is that there's a discrepancy between the height table to chair
I'm correct
ratio.
right now, Joey. Am I not correct that you are using an apparatus as a booster so you could be taller and see better?
First of all, my tailbone is sore right now.
So I'm going to put my headphones off right now.
There's a cushion
My
here that I'm
headphones are
sitting
coming off,
on
and I'm
because
going to
I
go
need to be able to sit for long periods of time while we do this.
Come on, Joey, let's see what we got going.
There it is. Okay. All right, so I'll explain it. Let me explain.
Boost, Joe.
I'll explain when I've got the booster.
Boost.
Okay.
Check out, find out on Monday's episode how Joe tries to, explain this away. Yep,
Okay.
I'm going to turn the video off.
Okay, bye-bye.
I'm going to go ahead and post that.
So here's the thing. I got I'm an old man, right? As you would like to remind everybody.
Well,
and so I've got new glasses. I got my new glasses.
Yeah.
They're gray.
Hey, those are new. I haven't seen
and
those.
And they got a little bit of blue in them. There's
see.
color. Pretty cool, huh?
That is actually really nice.
So
I did not know you had new glasses.
Yeah, well, it's very, I don't do color. And so I was like, I'll go gray this time. I don't do color. I don't. I just I like black and gray. That's it. So but these I thought I'll actually change my glasses from gray.
Yeah.
So anyways, they're progressives. So for me to see the screen on my computer, my head has to be at a certain
and you got
angle.
tilt back.
So if I don't sit on this cushion right here.
Do you do this thing where your chin goes up?
Yeah, I have to. Chin has to go up so I can see. But like now it's perfect because we're not using chairs that are designed to be used with this.
Why don't you just use this chair?
Okay, because that's your chair. That one you can adjust. I can't adjust this one.
I can adjust. I love it.
So, hey man, I am super excited to be getting into the Catechism.
Man, I'm pumped.
I mean,
I'm good to go with this.
People are pumped.
Yeah.
Yep. We got people like,
we got some love online for it.
Yep. So we're going to be doing the Catechism, and before we even get into it, I mean, the very first question, it's different than the Westminster Shorter Catechism, which is what everybody seems to know. It starts with a different kind of a question that has to do with what is important. So let's just, before we even get into the first question of the Baptist Catechism, why don't we just start with that, just to get people thinking, right? What are some of the most important things to you? And you got to answer it seriously. And if you need me to go first, or do you want?
Yeah, you go first because I'm posting right now on Instagram stories.
Yeah, that's right. Get your stories going.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is most important to me? Obviously, besides my peak physical and mental health, I would say that my family is of the utmost importance to me. Connected to that would be my friends, right? But
Now, for your friends though, which one's more important? Why don't you rank them, list them
All of my friends?
in order?
No. Well, first of all, I have too many. I can't.
First
count.
of all, you got two.
I have three. I have three.
Who's the third?
What do you mean?
Who's the third?
Well, who do you think is the second? Yeah, that's right.
We
That's
both know
right.
Steve McCoy.
Okay, listen here. Let me get.
I'm not saying this whole like your wife's your best friend thing. No.
I'm not saying that.
Outside of
All right.
Jen.
So most people, I think, would say family, friends. And now, for us as Christians, I mean, obviously, we're going to say the Lord is the most important, and this so connected with that, it makes the church, the local church in particular, very important to us. So, yeah, we've got a lot of things that are valuable. For some people, though, Jimmy, it's like cars or job, career, which is
Career is
important.
kind of a big thing for people. Yeah, they want to see if they can advance. Status is one thing.
Vocation and calling is a part of that.
Yep.
It's not a bad thing.
Children.
Yep.
Children are valued as well.
Fill up that quiver, yo. Quiver full.
Yeah. I'm not going with the.
No.
I'm trying to think. Even like recreation.
Yeah, hobbies. People get
Hobbies,
passionate.
yeah.
Like you do the whole like model train thing in your basement.
First
so
of all,
that's
you
very
know
cool.
I don't.
Yeah, okay.
You know I
Okay,
don't.
yeah. Okay.
So we were actually talking yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were talking about. I lived in Canada for 10 years. The first part though was a struggle.
Yeah, because it's Canada.
Financially, just it's ministry, so you're living off of support,
And you're living off of loonies and toonies, literally.
literally loonies and toonies. And I mean, as far as like a ghetto goes, I was in the ghetto part. My dad came to visit, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to start supporting you financially because someone was just murdered on your doorstep, kind of a thing."
Right.
It literally, yeah. Anyways, but model trains. Back to it. There was this couple from England that lived in Port Alberni.
Okay.
And he was a doctor, really well known for them.
Right.
In the small town.
And yeah, really well known for a town of 100. Great.
So he would always bring over salmon, for me. And they'd always invite me every week for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dinner and wine, and so but afterwards, it was like the key, the admittance fee to getting my wine was I'd have to go down to the basement with him
and look at his train
and watch him play trains. He was like 55, 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
And he was
people
very
get
nice.
into it. People get into their
I would just sit
hobbies.
there like, yeah, Dr. Jemison, this is fantastic. Yes. Choo choo.
Did he make you wear a hat?
No, but
Okay.
I was like, can I hit the button? He's like, this is a vintage antique.
Yeah,
Jimmy."
it's
I'm
not,
like,
it's not playtime.
Oh, it's not playtime.
Okay, no.
We're going to watch this go around. I'm like, oh, okay. Cool.
But it's funny how like the things that are important to us, things that come first, vary from person to person and all different kinds. And so when we're looking at the Baptist Catechism, the very first question deals with this. Jimmy, what are the sources that we're using for our discussion through the Catechism?
Yeah. Well, we're going to be looking at the Baptist Catechism
Yes,
itself.
yes.
So
Not Keach's Catechism.
I know. You know what?
Not Piper's edit of the Baptist Catechism.
All week I've been thinking to myself, I better not call it that. Keach's Catechism, because you reprimanded me so
How long
hard
does it
about
take you to post something? You're still working on it.
I finally done
my
with it. It
goodness.
took me that long because I was trying to track with you at the same time. I was trying to think, how do I spell booster?
And you're talking at the same time.
See? So I was doing all those things, and I was trying to tell a story that I could tell by the look of your eyes. I was dragging out too long.
It was a little long,
and
but,
so I
but
was
the
like,
reason you were dragging on is because you were
because I was
all
doing
right.
that exactly.
All right.
So Baptist Catechism. So I made sure not to call it Keach's, and Piper's edit.
No.
Who'd you say what?
Why are you talking about Piper?
Oh, no, I thought you meant what we're not to call it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, see, context, Joe.
Okay.
Because I said not Keach's and not.
And not. Yes.
See? Wow.
Yes, you're right.
Wow.
Good. All right. What are we using?
Before we started recording, you got at me a little bit about a text message where I was like, hey, go check it. Like, I went to go check what you said. You're like, oh, that's back from Thursday.
Yeah.
If you had responded faster, I would have known what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I responded right in the moment. You still didn't know.
Right.
All right, good.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure
thing.
you lose track of what
you
we're talking about.
You're a mumbler.
I'm not mumbling.
You're like
I'm not mumbling.
Piper. Listen,
Anyways.
everybody knows you run your words and sentences together. All right. So don't even play like you don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
there
we go. All
So
right, we're both right.
Baptist,
high
five.
All right.
Baptist
both right.
Catechism. And secondly, we're also going to be using as a source Benjamin Bedome's exposition.
Or Bedham, but yeah.
Bedome. No, Bedome's.
Bedome.
Bedome. It's like because all other exposition should be gone.
Yeah.
And we're going to use Bedome.
Bedome. You know what they used to say?
Bedome.
They talk about his Bedome. So that is an important thing, right? We want you to get the Baptist Catechism. We want you to also get Benjamin Bedham's exposition because it's really helpful. Jimmy, we're just doing question 1 today.
Question 1. Here we go.
What is it?
Who is the first and chiefest being? Answer: God is the first and chiefest being.
All right. Now, we're going to give you resources along the way. The place that we're going to give you, share a link with you, and the link will give you a free online version of Benjamin Bedham's exposition. But the church that has put this resource together has every question and answer written to song. You can push play.
What, really?
So that you can learn
Start
it. You
memorizing
can memorize it with a melody.
Oh.
Pretty cool
that
resource
pretty
by
cool.
a particular church. So be sure and check that stuff out. Jimmy, who is the first and chiefest of being? God is the first and chiefest. We can look at a number of passages, right? Like Isaiah 44:6. Thus says the Lord, the King of Israel and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first and I am the last. Besides me, there is no God.
Isaiah 48:12. Listen to me, O Jacob and Israel, whom I called. I am he, I am the first, and I am the last.
Psalm 97:9. For you, O Lord, are most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods.
And see, this is what I love about when we're looking at the Baptist Catechism, and we've talked about this before when we talked about the 1689, is it's referencing biblical truth, right?
Yeah.
And so you see throughout Scripture, and these are just 3 examples of it, where we see that God is the first and chiefest being, and he's saying that about himself, right? I am he, I am the first. Right?
Yeah.
I am the first and I am the last. Besides me, there is no God. And then we're called, as Joe was reading from Psalm 97, to proclaim that. For you, O Lord, are most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods.
And as we're going to see, like just this very simple truth should have a radical reorientation to the whole of our lives. We'll get to that at the end here.
You mean we're not just supposed to think about these things and jot it down and memorize it so we can just, in debates?
You can nod your head.
Oh,
thoughtfully.
This is not it. This is not an and or. It's a both and.
It's a both and. So God is first. When we say God is first, Jimmy, how would you explain that to somebody? What's one of the ways you would say, when we say God is first, it means this?
Yeah. I mean, there's a sense of priority, right? That God is a priority, but I also look at that he's the cause of everything. He's the first cause of everything that we have here.
Yeah, for sure. So like in 1 Corinthians 8, verses 4 through 6, therefore, as to the eating of food offered to idols, we know that an idol has no real existence and that there is no God but one. But although there may be so-called gods in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many, quote, gods and many lords, yet for us there is one God, the Father, from whom are all things and for whom we exist, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom are all things and through whom we exist. So the basic idea there, like one of the important clue for us, is that everything that is because of God. He was first. He is first. He is the first cause of all things. Everything comes from him.
Yeah. I mean, examples, obviously life, right? Life comes from the Lord. Love, right? When we know how to love because God first had shown us what it means to love. I mean, salvation, right? He's the cause of our salvation. He himself had given of himself, and he planned within himself to save us. Wisdom all begins. Knowledge of God it all starts from God himself.
I think it's really good because I think most of the time people think about first causes merely as cause and effect, right? Which is still very true, right? Everything that happens is happening with God as the first cause, but that doesn't eliminate secondary causes.
Yeah.
Right. So secondary causes might mean, okay, so maybe Jimmy is going to be held responsible for making fun of my height, the way God designed me. So Jimmy's going to make fun of my height.
Never mind, I couldn't do it. And what I was about to say was so blasphemous.
Yeah. So Jimmy likes to make fun of my height. He is the immediate or the secondary cause, but God will be the first cause of all things by setting things in motion.
He's also then in that same way. Yeah. What you see as evil, the Lord uses for good because it's my joy He is the cause of my joy.
I think you got this whole thing backwards.
No. He is the cause of my joy.
You are evil,
when I make fun of you.
I can see that
and
God will use your evil for good.
When I point out what the Lord has done,
I'm Joseph.
I am then
You're his jerky
joyous.
brothers who threw him in the hole. Anyways, let's move on. What about Benjamin Bedham and his exposition of this whole thing? He's got some really interesting questions to help reinforce this idea of what it means when we say God is first.
Yeah, is God the first in creation? Yes. And Psalm 33:9, he spake and it was done.
Right on. Is he first in providence? Yes, for in him we live and move and have our being, right? So he's first in providence. He's orchestrating, maintaining, governing, supporting all things at the same time.
Oh, is he the first in government?
Well, not in America. Because Pence. Did you see what Pence said?
No. I didn't watch any of the RNC.
Oh, dude. Well, neither did I. But holy smokes! All right, go ahead and explain. Go ahead.
Is he the first in government? Yes. Thy throne is established of old. All right, now you got to go ahead and here. I'm going to keep going. Is he the first in the world of grace? Yes. All things are of God and hath reconciled us to himself. Is he the first in the displays of his love? Yes. We love him because he first loved us. And so, I mean, just as you're going through this exposition, you see, I mean, how it should be played out in our everyday, these things that we think that are just kind of secondary or even we don't even think of, right? But that this is what it means that God is first and chiefest.
Right. So, by the way, so you're saying, is he first in government? And we started to think about Pence. Here's what Pence said. Ready?
I'm ready. Go.
He's going to get all Christian now.
Yes.
Well, he's professing Christian.
Yeah.
Let's run the race marked out for us. Let's fix our eyes on Old Glory and all she represents. Let's fix our eyes on
Wait, did you say Old Glory?
Yep.
The flag? Okay.
Yeah, America, basically. Yeah. Let's fix our eyes on this land of heroes and let their courage inspire, and let us fix our eyes on the author and perfecter of our faith and freedom, and never forget that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, and that means freedom always wins. And so people, of course, are losing their minds because he's taking these verses right from Colossians and elsewhere, and he's kind of hacking them and tweaking them to say some things that the Bible doesn't say, and he's not even claiming that the Bible says these things. He's using the language of Scripture to make his point. Listen, I'm not defending Pence. I don't really care either way. I just don't get freaked out when people that I don't know, and politicians in particular, say things that are dumb or things that I don't like. I kind of come to expect that. But people are freaking out because, Pence apparently said some things that were confusing or frustrating or confounding. Okay, so if God is first...
Yeah.
Right. If God is first, if we confess,
if we believe that, we truly trust in that and uphold that, then what?
He should be first in our lives. He should have preeminence and priority, which is what you teased out on the front end, right? He comes first in our lives. Like in Psalm 63, verses 5-8, my soul will be satisfied as with fat and rich food, and my mouth will praise you with joyful lips when I remember you upon my bed and meditate on you in the watches of the night, for you have been my help. And in the shadow of your wings I will sing for joy. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me. Right? So it is... this recognition that God is our Savior, our help, our comfort, our everything. He is first in our thoughts, and the thoughts are reflected here when he says, well, I meditate on this. I mean, I think about you. When I'm at bed at night, I'm thinking about you. When I look at my life and the things that I have or don't have, I'm seeing it all through the perspective of God's divine providence and love for me. So first in our thoughts means that we actually aren't, it's not just this general thing like God comes first in my life. Well, let's pin it down in my thinking, in the way that I think about politics, in the way that I think about relationships,
the way that I think about my neighbor.
Exactly. That's what, if God is first, then he will be first in your thinking. It'll change the way you interact with everything that is happening around you and all the things that you're engaging in.
If God is first, right, he should be first in our treasure, what we value the most, what we esteem the highest. Psalm 73, whom I in heaven but you, and there's nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever.
I love that passage.
And so, yeah, riches will fade away, and whatever he must be what we treasure, not just financially, but then we talked a bit before about status and positions, right? What is it that we treasure the most in this life? Whether it's the family dynamic, whether it is the bank account increasing, whether it is hobbies and recreation, and whether it is treasuring ourselves first rather than God. So he should be first as our treasure that we desire more than anything else.
And the way that you just said that at the end is important, right? Because it's, the psalmist says, there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. Okay. Well, so does that not food? You don't desire food. You don't desire a companion or friendship. And so the point is not that there are no other desires that we have that are good, but comparatively,
what is the number one desire for us? Because it's good to have that desire, right, of financial stability. I mean, that's good, especially as a family. That's good to desire a family. It's good to want to advance, right, in your career. These are all good things.
Yeah.
And some of them, there's a lot of things that are noble that we should be desiring, but the thing that we should be desiring the most, that's chief above all those, is God himself.
And even like when you were reading verse 26, right? My flesh is going to fail. My heart is going to fail. I will fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. That's why when we talk about God being first, it should move us to say, well, then I'm going to give myself first to him before I give myself to anything else. First to, I probably most realistically, most honestly, you and I and most men out there that I know, and I'm speaking about men because I know men better than I know women. We think about like the woman that we love before we get married, like that one, right? The one that you're like, oh Lord, I just want to, you write poetry. Like I want to give myself to her. I want to be 100%. I'll be faithful, devoted. I want to
like when you meet her and like you're like opening the door, and is that what you're talking about? Like how we kind of play it up and then later on we lazy it up?
Okay, well, no, I'm talking about more than opening doors. I'm saying like when you are captivated by this woman and you're like, I want to marry her. Your goal, your heart is not just to be polite and to be nice to her, not to just
bamboozle her in,
but you want, right? If you have a heart, if you're doing it right, you want to give yourself first to her before anybody else. Now, sometimes that like looks weird because you like blow off your friends and you blow off everybody else, and that's not the healthy way to do it.
No.
But there's that impulse there. But above that is like I want to give myself to the Lord. In fact, in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 1 through 5, Paul has this whole bit, right, where he's talking to the Corinthians, and he says, we want you to know, brothers, about the grace of God that has been given among the churches of Macedonia. For in a severe test of affliction, their abundance of joy and their extreme poverty has overflowed in a wealth of generosity on their part. For they gave according to their means, as I can testify, and beyond their means, of their own accord, and begging us earnestly for the favor of taking part in the relief of the saints. So you get it, like these people don't have much, but they're going to give everything that they have, and it's an honor, it's a privilege for them. And this, not as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord, and then by the will of God to us. So they understood God is first, so we give ourselves first to him, and then naturally we're going to give ourselves to others.
Yeah, I mean, or even Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. So that means right there, present your bodies, right? You are giving yourselves to him completely, first and foremost, in every aspect of your life.
One of the ways, and we do this in different ways, right? We give ourselves to the Lord in different ways.
Some are better than others.
Right. Like, it's like, oh, look, like, oh, I bought a new devotional booklet, like that's good. That's good.
That's all right. Yeah.
It might be an instrument that helps you devote yourself to the Lord. But if you really want to give yourself first to the Lord,
the chiefest way
would be to go to the Doctrine and Devotion, not
Devotion.
The Doctrine and Devotion is a different kind of a conference.
You just got done talking about giving your heart to this prospective
and then
wife, and then now you're going to divorce.
Doctrine and Devotion. It's going to be our side ministry. Doctrine and Devotion's 4th annual conference is Friday and Saturday, September 18th and 19th. It's going down right here in Chicagoland. Our theme for the 2-day conference is Covenant Theology, God's promises for God's people. Dr. Sam Renihan will be our keynote speaker. Jimmy's going to preach. I'm going to preach. But, of course, Dr. Sam Middlehead Renihan is going to be doing the heavy lifting as we look at covenant theology. Plus, we're going to have a sweet hangout with everybody's invited.
Woo-woo!
Outdoors. It's going to be food, fun. It's going to be great. So we hope to see you there. Jimmy, where do they go to register for this conference before we are filled up? Because we're going to fill up.
Yeah, doctrineanddevotion.com/conference.
Okay, so we talked about God being first, but then there's this whole God is chiefest.
Like he's from Kansas City?
Yeah, he's chiefest. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't use that word, right? Like, what is man's...
You didn't get my joke, did you?
Yeah, I did. Kansas City.
No, did you? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
okay, good. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Well,
I just don't like that kind of racist, sports stuff going on, like just like Chiefs and like, hey, Chief. It's like not very cool to Native Americans. I just think people should be a little chill. This is a different kind of chief. Okay, so why don't you just try and focus on these things instead of the worldly stuff? That's
is that it?
Jimmy? Yeah.
Wow, you just juked me.
Yeah. So
You should be proud of that juke.
no, pretty much all of our listeners, even if they like haven't looked at this catechism before, they have looked at another catechism that uses that word chief, right? Man's chief end, right? It means your first end, right? It means your preeminent end, the reason for your existence. So think preeminent when you see chiefest. Now, if we look at Bedham's exposition, he goes back and he starts asking some more questions, right? So if God is the first and the chiefest being, Benjamin says, okay, well, let's kind of walk through that. So what are some questions that he asks?
He goes, is God the chiefest being? Yes. And Exodus, who is like unto thee, O Lord? Obviously, no one, right? Rhetorical question, no one. So then, okay, but fine. He's the chiefest. Is he above all pretenders?
Oh, it's such a good question.
And yes. Psalm 95:3, he is a great king above all gods.
Pretender being not just those that would intentionally try to take the place of God, but anybody who steps into that role of ruler, overseer, leader, that
sovereign authority,
right? That allows themselves to be put on those pedestals where they are likened unto God. No, he is greater than them. He asks, is he chief in heaven? Yes. Who in heaven can be compared unto the Lord? So even among all angelic beings, God stands high above. And is he chief on earth, Jimmy?
Yes.
Yea.
Thou, Lord, art high above all the earth. Psalm 97:9.
So, Bedham lays these questions out, and they seem kind of simple, right? But the reality is most of us don't do this kind of work.
No.
We look at the catechism, the question, the answer, we're memorizing it, but he's leading us to think more deeply
and
about...
to unpack it, right? That's the whole point. That question is there as a springboard to catapult you. Well, I'm using all these words.
Wait, so is it a springboard or a catapult?
Both.
Okay, so
it's a springboard that catapults you.
And where does it catapult you? Is it over a wall or into some water? Because a springboard is more like a diving board. The catapult is over a wall.
Into over the stratosphere.
Over the wall of unbelief, over the fields of ignorance.
To the waters of living.
Into the promised land of the
living waters.
Knowledge of God.
There you go.
All right. There you go. So, so all of this, I think you're right. We got to explore it. We got to unpack it, and we got to look at so in what ways is he chief, right? And if he is,
in what ways should he be chief, and what ways am I neglecting him as chief?
Exactly. So, like if God is first, and what does that mean? That if the Lord our God is chief, then he should be chiefly loved. He should be feared. That's what Bedham says. And we look at like Matthew 22:35-40, right? Where the lawyer is asking Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. That is chiefly loving God, to love him as he is the preeminent one.
And earlier in Matthew 10, and do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. So when we're talking about God being chief and he should be above all and preeminent, that means he should be chiefly loved and feared, a holy fear of what's at stake for us.
So Bedham concludes his exposition of this first question with this. And are those happy who are interested in him? And the answer is yes. And he quotes Psalm 144:15, happy or blessed, depends on your translation, of course, but he has it as happy is that people whose God is the Lord. Jimmy, there's a lot of pushback against the word happy by Christians. We're like, well, no, God doesn't promise us happiness. He promises us joy.
Joy, yeah.
But why? So why is he saying happiness?
Happiness, well, like you said, I think there's that it's more blessed, right? Like this idea of are those blessed who are interested in him? Those that happiness is still like the sense of contentment, right? That sense of contentment and peace with him.
Yeah, it's not worldly happiness.
No.
It's spiritual happiness. Yeah. Well, I need to relax. Everybody like, don't say happy, say joy. Okay, listen, your joy sounds boring and unfun. Okay, so joy, you know what part of, I'm just going to say, like there's an ingredient in joy, it's called happiness. Okay? So all this to say, yes, when he says happy, he means blessed. That's the way it has oftentimes been translated in ages past. So it's not worldly happiness that's temporal and simply based on how comfortable our experiences are. We're talking about a Christian or a spiritual, a divinely wrought sense of joy that comes from the knowledge of God. Those who have an interest, a saving interest in the Lord through Jesus are happy. They are blessed. Like Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. So, yeah, this is a doctrine. This first question says, listen, let's just be clear on one thing, right? God is first. He's the chiefest. And if that's the case, then he should be first in your life. You should be giving yourself first to him. And the consequence of all of this should be joy, spiritual happiness. So God is first. He's chiefest. He is above all gods, all kings, all peoples, and all treasures. Jimmy, how do we actively, in like just like one or two tangible ways, how do we live in light of God being first? Or what might it look like in these trying times?
Yeah,
Brian Malcolm's trademark. To live recognizing that God is first. Is there a tangible way, or is there a practical example that you've seen in somebody or that you've strived to live?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that sense of humility, right? Of knowing one's position and status before a holy and just and loving God, right? That if God is chiefest, that means I'm not, and there's a sense of humility that comes with that, and I think there's a sense of assurance and joy of knowing that thankfully I'm not the one that is chief, because I know how fallible I am.
Everybody wants to be in charge, right? I mean, we all want to be first, we think, but when you actually take into consideration what that means, you're not fit for that. You're not made for that.
No.
I mean,
you're not qualified for that.
We are ruined when we try to take the place of the Lord in our lives. And what I love is that joy is the result. Like Christian happiness is the consequence of recognizing this idea that troubled me as a kid, as a young man, meeting these Christians before I was converted who loved Jesus, and they loved him more than they loved their parents, and that it really offended me. You love Jesus. I called him the invisible man back then. You love the invisible man you can't see, who hasn't really done anything for you. You love him more than you love your parents, who gave you life, who gave you food, who gave you shelter, who supported you and gave you everything. And I was just too ignorant to understand that, well, no, I'll actually, it's the difference between first cause and second causes, right? I didn't understand that God is first, that Jesus is first, and that they had come to recognize that and believe that. And now I'll say this, that was one of the things I wanted. When I looked at these Christians, I was offended by their notions, but I was hungry for this joy that they had in their lives. And the more I heard the gospel, the more I wanted to know this God who was first, so that he might be first in me.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter @DocandDevo, or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast. Hit up the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday. Blog post on Wednesdays. Conference is coming up. drdevotion.com/conference. Go get registered. Later.